Hey everybody, we're in Tomball today, where we're heading over to the littlest honky tonk in Texas. And we're going to meet with my friend, Michael Dean Pierce. Let's head on over.
Hey Mike!
What's up?
Welcome to the smallest honky tonk in Texas.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Come on in.
All right.
And we have measured it.
Man, this is cool.
Hey, thanks, man.
I love it.
It's a building that was built in the 1950s, and we've repurposed it for the smallest honky tonk in Texas. We do live music here, and if you want to have a seat, man, I'll be happy to talk about it.
Yeah, let's go sit down and chat a bit. So tell me about, I'm looking around here.
Yeah.
I see Hank Williams. I see James Dean. We got Johnny Cash. I see Waylon Jennings mentioned in here. That's just the start. So tell me about some of the things you have on the wall.
I'll say that first of all, the honky tonk is literally filled with everything that comes from Tomball.
Yeah.
So there is very few things in here that came from Tomball in some way. I collect signs from the old shops that have gone out of business from the past, or people bring me stuff like that. So the honky tonk is really kind of a museum of Tomball's past. Yeah. I would say, I wager there's nothing in here that didn't come from Tomball. The first thing we got is the baby Jesus up here, the nativity from baby Jesus looks over everybody, and some people have a problem with that, but for me, I'm a Christian, and that means a lot to me that we have that element, no matter that's there. So that was one of the first things that we put in, and we built it around baby Jesus, which is what would be more Ricky Bobby than that, you know what I mean? I can't imagine.
And you know what, some of the stuff too, it kind of reminds me of like the 1950s, like, we're not listening to that rock and roll rubbish, like it almost feels like you're like in that 2.0 type of thing, sometimes the way people react.
We do nights with old honky tonk music that plays, and we'll have bands that do that also, just the jukebox playing. We want it to really feel like you've walked into a time machine, and we also want to open it up for, like I might have told you already, jazz nights. We want it to really be a scene where people come, visit, they have these big booths, they have conversation with their friends, and just and sit comfortably and enjoy a different side of Tomball that is like
I love the booths.
I know.
The booths are awesome. The tables are awesome in here. The you can't get you could get closer to the talent on stage if you're on the stage with them, but there's something to see everywhere in this place, and I
just like my shop, right? It's kind of a similar thing.
It's this collage of creativity and just wonderment, what you see there, and like I said, there are people that are out there that are trained in design and feng shui and all this stuff, and I don't think there's certain people who could come up with something like this, even if I love the acronym.
Oh yeah,
tell me about the acronym. I love the acronym for this. Tell them about that.
We jokingly call our show the Shit Show, and that has taken off, and we call it that because for me, we set the expectations really low, and there's been people that come and like, man, I've never came because you call it this shit show, and like, man, this is actually kind of fun. And when I hesitatingly even say that because I don't like to compliment what we do too much, because we don't, it is just at the end of the day, it's just an old barn and some songs and some people having fun. And so, but we call
that acronym stands for
the smallest honky tonk in Texas, which was a complete accident.
Correct.
But that was a complete accident. Someone pointed that out to me.
Divine intervention.
Exactly. We're not getting away from the shit show, no matter what we do. And so it's like we got stickers that say that. I got a song it's called "Welcome to the Shit Show," and we just have. I got a new song today I wrote called "That's All Methed Up." So we've got a lot of fun songs that we do.
Tell me a little bit about this bell.
The bell. So this was given to us. Supposedly came from the one of the chicken ranches out in LaGrange. And we ring this. We're going to start the show, and so when that happens, you know that the shit show is starting.
I love it.
And no one's supposed to touch it, because if they do, a spontaneous shit show may happen. And then we have our rules that you'll see, which is the no knife fights, no cover songs, don't disrespect the ladies, and so we have fun with some rules, and we plan to have a fun attitude here where people will get ejected from a honky tonk. So that'll be part of the honky tonk experience, is getting yourself kicked out. So that's what
Well, you still got to play by the rules, right? Buford T. Justice of Tomball is going to come over here and just make sure everybody's in line. Talk a little bit about Cloud Chief. That's kind of your anchor business.
Yeah, that's where it started, and that's where the honky tonk comes from too. It's like that was a business that we started about 5 years ago with a mission to carry on a tradition of a shop that's been here since the late 60s. And we took that over and wanted to kind of honor what was here and been here, and maybe that in town I get a lot of maybe flack for not realizing how much that's important to us. So like bringing the pickle man back to his original color, right? These are things that we wanted to, that are important, is like honoring the past, but still coming forward. But the Cloud Chief, we used to do music there, and the store is a Native American art store. There's a lot of energy there and vibe and just, you know, just something weird going on there that has brought people together and community and friends and troubles. And
you're an entrepreneur. You're here in Tomball, you're invested in Tomball, you live here in the area, and you really just want to see this town succeed, and you have fun with it, you know. And in the Cloud Chief store, you have, you know, Main Street Crossing is the music venue just a couple blocks away, and you have some singers and songwriters and all sorts of people that come into the store. I saw a Gary P. Nunn guitar that you have in there. Dale Watson has been in. Marty Stewart has been in there.
Ray,
you know,
Wylie Hubbard,
and I think that's kind of part of the vibe. You know, and it's very. The thing that I have to say about here, it's just very organic. You know. Well,
I'll say to that, like that's part of it. Like the music, it feels like, you know, Main Street Crossing down the street. You know, they bring a lot of great names. I've been able to meet all of my favorite songwriters right here in Tomball. So there's really something special, at least for me, and I feel like for others in Tomball. Because they bring this energy. So one of my first early ideas was like, these guys are coming to town, but they're leaving, and there's really no record of them being here. So I reached out to Ray Wylie Hubbard through a misspelled mess of a text mess or a DM to an Instagram or whatever, and asked them to come to the shop and sign the wall, because I had this vision of a wall signed by all these guys, so that when others are here, the visitors, they can see all these people that have been to town. And so it's like, that was, I guess, probably our first feature, like our first secondary thing that's like, hey, let's start creating more things in town for people to talk about or do. So Ray was kind enough to come, and I got a fun story about that if I can tell you.
Sure.
So when he walked in, I had put out Oreo cookies and whiskey, which is from a song that he does about Oklahoma, which is where I'm from. It's a great song. And so I put out whiskey and Oreos, and I invited him there, and they saw it, even though I misspelled his name and all this. And then, so you got to realize we had none of this vibe going on. We had, maybe we're doing our music early. So he called me on the phone there at the shop, and I happened to answer the phone, and he was like, what time y'all close? You know, and I was like, oh, and I was like, that's Ray Wylie. And I was like, 5 o'clock, sir, or 6 o'clock, whatever it was. Or I think my line is, there is no time at the Cloud Chief, right? That's what I tell people. And so I was like, there's no time at the Cloud Chief, whatever. So he comes walking up, I'm waiting on him, and he walks up all blacked out, leather, you know, like these guys do. And I walked outside to greet him, and I said, man, I've heard of people riding off in the sunset, but I've never heard of anyone appearing out of the dusk. Is what I said to him, right? And he looked at me just like, what the hell is this guy? You know, because it just came to me, right? And so I brought him and I said, hey, I've got this vision of a wall signed by all of the all my favorite songwriters. You're one of them. And so he signed like this perfect, real big signature right there in the middle. And then just all of it now has filled around with all these guys that sign. They all want to sign around Ray, and he started that tradition for us. And so that was like our first extra Tomball feature of a thing that we thought of an idea. And then that's when I started realizing kind of that, like, hey, my imagination is kind of powerful. You know, it's like, we think it, you can do it. If you can dream it up, we can make it happen. The fact that I have a wall signed by all these guys that I love and respect in their songs is something I take for granted a lot of times, that, you know, you never would have thought that could happen. And Tomball, things like that just kind of can happen. So
you were doing your own AI country music.
Right.
I loved it. You walk up and you hear these songs.
Tomball songs.
You know, who does that?
And that's fun to hear. You know, everything we do really is about Tomball. You know, so to have this, like, sort of, for me, it's all about creating, like, when they walk by and they hear this song that sounds like a perfect country song about Tomball, it just clicks in their brain that I'm in a space that's special. I'm in a place that deserves songs. We have our own songs about Tomball, but those just register with people. And so it's a tool, and some people love it, some people hate it. That very same song you're talking about got all of our music taken off Spotify because we got in trouble for that, because a lot of people in the music industry they're scared of it. They don't understand it. We look at it as a tool, a marketing tool, a fun thing. If we look at it as fun. You know, and it's like,
but you can pay somebody to write that, right? You can pay somebody to play the music and all that stuff. Right. I get that.
And we could do it as well. And so, but yeah, we just use it as a tool. We think it's fun. It gets people laughing, talking. The whole thing is designed to get people talking about Tomball. Either way.
Tell me a little bit about you have a huge Lyle Lovett back over here too. I mean, that whole
So
area.
that would be like another, I mean, you use this word feature, right? These extra things we're trying to make. So we want to, like, bring these things, and we want to spread them around town, right? So putting Lyle up was important. We want to do a thing called Honky Tonk Land. I don't know if I told you about Honky Tonk Land.
You did mention that, yeah.
So we want to do sort of like a thing where the joke is sort of that it teaches kids the pros and cons of honky tonking, right? And so we're gonna have, we have a big 8-foot tall Lone Star beer over there. We have the Lyle Lovett, and my buddy Eric Sundin, who's a local artist. I've been fortunate to meet in Tomball, like what we'll call like the A team of people to help. I mean, Mike, you're on the A team, right? Like meeting people that help and do and care about Tomball and are willing to donate their time and energy for very little, honestly, right? And so Eric did that for us. I had the idea of a large woodcut like you see in what's that town? Marfa.
Oh, in Marfa,
yeah. And they have one also, I think, in Austin or in Uvalde of Matthew McConaughey. So we're like, we want to do something like that. And so we built a big 15, 16 foot tall Lyle Lovett out there that's painted up real nice. And then we have plans to do a jukebox and a pack of cigarettes and all the things that are honky tonk. And there'll be a little plaque that tells the kids, like, you know, the joke is like, don't do this, you know, but you'll have fun. But just don't do the, you know, it's kind of be like this like fun tongue-in-cheek way of like promoting what the little honky tonk with like a theme park. So it's going to be like a fun theme park. In some ways, you know, like I said, I think we're trying to kind of build a Lukenbach sort of thing. We want a music scene here. So I want a music scene that consists of characters that write good songs, very similar to what Lukenbach was is still. And so we want to build that in Tomball.
What you're doing here is very unique. You know, maybe it could be done in some other areas, but the point is that they're not doing it. Not that they can't do it, but I think you always need a catalyst to kind of get things done. There's always ideas out there like, hey, we should do this. I wish we had that. You know, entrepreneurs, people in the town, whatever it is, but there has to be somebody that actually puts to action the thoughts. And also sometimes take the heat because I know you take the heat from different things because, you know, there's, I guess you could call it, there's an old guard in Tomball or whatever, and there's some things, not everybody's on board with ideas, and that's fine, right?
And but Lukenbach had the same problem. He caught a lot of hell for bringing tourists there. And that's the thing in Tomball too. It's the same thing, you know. I've got a new song, and one of the verses says, terrorists, I mean tourists, you know, because a lot of the locals look at tourists as terrorists, right? And so, and I'm starting to kind of, I see that, not that I think that, I'm saying I understand now where they're coming from on that, and or I shouldn't say that. I'm saying that's their deal. Right?
I get what you're saying because you don't want it to turn from this quaint little cool place.
Honestly,
into,
I do.
You know, I mean, well, that's what they're thinking, right?
Right.
They want it to be.
Well, that's the deal. I would say there's a fine line between a ghost town.
Correct.
Which is what a lot of them really would want. And then a thriving community. Right. And all we want is a thriving community. You know, we're largely supported by people outside of Tomball from all over the world. I always say we have customers from England and, you know, Australia, you know what I mean? And so and Spring, Texas, you know what I mean? So people in Woodlands. So they come in, and the Tomball people are really over it. Like there's a Bible verse, you know, that says like, you know, like, or maybe it's not a Bible verse, but it says, you know, familiarity breeds contempt. You know, and so what you have in Tomball is a classic case of familiarity breeds contempt. Like they are over, they don't see it. And so when a person like me comes in is like this like kid in a candy store and just having fun with it. And really a big part of it, you were talking about a while ago about other people could do it. The problem is there's no money in it. Like, you know, Lyle Lovett doesn't bring anybody any money. The honky tonk doesn't make really anybody any money. So you don't get a lot of people to sign up for stuff that doesn't make money, and that's the problem. Like everything's about money. And so the little honky tonk is sort of like in a way, it's like a FU to the entire machine of that. Like, you know, me and my band, we can't even get a place to play our songs. Like nobody wants original music, and it's all died. You know, nobody makes bands anymore. They do, but it's just not. It's all very like commercialized and everything. Even with us, when we go do our shows, it's like they tell us what we can say, you know, oh, you can't have this bottle of whiskey there. And I'm just like, what happened to just like the free spirit of this rock and roll thing? So it just like, I'm just like, nah, man, we're not gonna do that way anymore. We're gonna do our own way. And so the honky tonk is supposed to be like freedom. So the deal about this is we can say what we want, do what we want, play when we want. There's no censorship on that part of it, and there's also no money because of that.
And you have a toilet though. You have the toilet here.
Now
though.
We have a toilet
because that was a big stickler.
We used to have a German Fest boot that we used, and I have it somewhere here. I think it's been stolen, which I feel really bad for that person because that was our toilet. Yeah, but only number one.
And we're serious. When we mentioned the toilet, you couldn't move past the point of doing anything official until you had a restroom here.
Yeah, we got locked into like a permitting thing, and this is actually our third reopening. You know, based off those things. And you know, the honky tonk is not exact. It was looked. You know, it's the name honky tonk scares people. They're like, oh my god, what's this rowdy? It's like biker gang. You know.
Yeah.
And we're just like, man, you know, it's like I said, my grandmother had a honky tonk. Like I told you earlier, she famously kicked Roy Orbison out of the bar. Yeah. So that's why we have the BAR over there. That was the name of the bar, was just bar.
I can see Wes Hightower walking in here, right, with Sissy. You know,
yeah.
This is like another very small version of like what you would see in Pasadena, Gillies, you know, years ago, and you know he's just out of the prison in Huntsville and comes in. But that's just it's fun though. You know, like that's all stories and lore. So what else? What other plans do you have? You know, what other kind of things you do? Because the one thing that I know just from talking to you over the years is that you are always thinking. Man, you are always thinking about something. You kind of shelve it, you can put it over here, and you pull it back out at the right time.
Well, we're building Tomball is what we're trying to do. We're rebuilding Tomball. And you said something earlier about used to come in here when you were young. Yeah. And one of the things we're trying to do is bring back a car cruise. Like we want to get the people. There's a lot of parking in Tomball for people to park their cool cars. We're trying to bring back a car cruise. That's really important to me. And creating a thing we're calling the new Four Corners of Tomball. So Tomball used to have the Four Corners up here. They still do have it, but it's now chains.
There's an HEB over there, and
McDonald's and things like that, which I love all those places. I'm just saying that's what it is. So we're creating what we call the new Four Corners, which is we have the dive bar opening up next door. It's a 2-story bar called the Dive Bar. We have a bar on the corner here that does wine and beer. We have a little honky tonk. So this has sort of been a forgotten corner of Tomball. It really is like the missing piece of the four corners of Old Town. So you have bars on each corner. You have nightlife, restaurants on each four corner except for this one. So it's been like this sort of like Rubik's Cube or Zelda's puzzle that has never been able to like fill itself in. So when this is opened for nightlife, we're going to start advertising the four corners. So we're going to talk the shops into keeping their lights on, keeping their merchandise lit up at night on the storefronts, and then you'll be able to go from a bar or restaurant on all four corners of Tomball. So that's that, and then we add the old cars in cruising around on Friday night. We got a scene, right? So we're building a scene.
You also, let's talk a little bit about you have 2 groups on Facebook. Or 3 now, right? As you just said, tell me a little bit about the groups, where they can find you, interact with you on Facebook.
So we have, I'll say one thing first, you know, all of the art and everything that we do kind of pushes toward that goal, right? So, and we need a place to put it. And some of I can't really put it on my own business page, you know, just me and you. So we need a place to put that stuff. So we started a group called Ask Tomball. And one called Tomball Talks. We also have the Tomball Jamboree. We have the old Tomball Honky Tonk. There's just a ton of them. The Tomball Art Market. You know, there's just a ton of them. And these are just designed to get the word out to the people. We were early on shut down on those aspects of the sort of the old guard wanting to not sort of get that word out. And so we fought a battle, really, honestly, in my opinion, for freedom of speech, for freedom to advertise our businesses in Tomball, and we've won that battle, and now we actually use it for good, and people advertise on our pages. Ask Tomball's a great, you know, forum. There's a lot of jokes on there. We have a lot of fun with that, and we can reach people. So, and then the Tomball Art Market is our little art market that we do on Saturdays. This is a new thing that's super cool. We've known for a long time people love the farmers market. And so we wanted more market life in town. So we created the Tomball Art Market. It takes place right here, not far from the Honky Tonk. And that's really growing, super fun. And that's local artists, crafters, bakers, and makers, and characters is what I say, general characters. So they come in and set up on Saturday and Sunday. That's bringing in new things. So once again, we're just trying to drop these. One of the other things we're doing is some chessboards. We're trying to get a chess club started with the chessboards that people play in the park, like you see in New York with the savant that kicks some businessman's butt, right?
Really.
We want to encourage that sort of thing. It's just another way of dropping something unique and fun and filling Tomball up with cool stuff. So I just love it. But yeah, follow the page. One thing too, we make the posters for all the events, and we staple them all around town. It's a really grassroots fun thing. People collect them. They come, tear them off, and take them home, which is cool. And so we just have this really sort of fun, creative, art-driven media machine, but we're only really advertising to Tomball. And they don't like it, and that's what makes it super fun. You know? So, and then, but word's getting out, and we want to start even going further out. But I find, you know, Mike, it's like, like no one really cares. Even if we get out like into Houston and stuff, it's it's like there's just something special about what we're doing here. Yeah. And it's almost like a little bubble in some aspect.
It is.
And when you get outside of it, it's like a bigger world. And it's like my own private Idaho, my own private Tomball, my own, and it is interesting. And so that's part of it is I don't know that we really will be able to really expand it out into some further thing, because you just kind of got to get it or not get it, or it's almost all in my imagination.
I don't think you really need to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I said, it's very organic. I don't think you really need to. Houston is what I always referred to as, when we originally did some promos a long time ago for Houston City Beat, I said Houston is the big city with the small town charm.
Yeah.
Because you have places like Tomball, Cypress, Katy, the Woodlands, Humble, Kingwood. I mean, you go Pearland all the way around like a clock. And you have the central business district in the middle. All these places that, because there's no zoning and all that type of stuff. And you have all these little towns just because of the way Houston was established and kind of grew in the suburbs and everything. You have these little places around that identify with Houston, but just far enough from the city limits. And so they all have their little identities. And when I think of Tomball, and it's not because I've lived here for a long time and I've raised my kids here, it's the fact that it really is that way. It is a little bit different. And I know that there are some people that are like, man, I kind of wish that we could do something like that in our area of town, and but again, maybe it's not the same thing if it's in a different area.
Point, though, one of the early visions of us was like, we want to kind of encourage people to do the same thing in their area, but you kind of need a cute little downtown, right? To kind of, I feel like that's part of it. There's something about all of we call it the ghost of Tomball past, right? There's a lot of stuff, people, good, bad. It's haunted to a certain extent, right? With those stories and that life. So that's part of, I think, the energy that feeds all of this craziness. So,
well, my man, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
This is my first time in the honky tonk, the smallest, littlest honky tonk in Texas. I love it. I think it's great. I'm gonna have to spend some time over here checking it out.
And see the show, man.
When there's live music out here. This place is right off of FM 2920, which is Main Street, when you're coming right through the center of Old Town Tomball. So anybody that's in the other areas of Houston, come on out, check it out. They got something really special, something that's very organic. It's a great vibe out here. Have some food, have some drinks, enjoy yourself, do some shopping there today. Go to Cloud Chief, go to the parks. Listen to the train pass by the depot over there. There's all sorts of things to do here in Tomball. I appreciate you being a leader, an entrepreneur in this area. So, Michael, thanks for the conversation. I appreciate it.
See y'all in Tomball.